A crimson sun, a dying gasp against the infinite black, cast an ominous glow on the ravaged surface of Krypton. The once majestic cityscapes were now skeletal monuments to a civilization on the brink. In a hidden chamber, Jor-El, his brow furrowed with despair, cradled a swaddled infant. His son, Kal-El, the last hope of a doomed world. Whispers of rebellion crackled through the sterile air, a futile struggle against the inevitable. But Jor-El, a brilliant scientist, refused to accept his people's fate. He had toiled night and day, fueled by a desperate love for his son, crafting a vessel, a salvation pod, hurtling towards a distant blue speck in the vast expanse of space Earth. The impact on the Kansas plains was a fiery spectacle, a gash torn in the serene night sky. The pod, battered and scorched, lay dormant amidst the smouldering wheat fields. A lone farmhouse, bathed in the golden glow of a rising sun, stood witness to the arrival of a legend. Jonathan and Martha Kent, a childless couple yearning for a miracle, stumbled upon the crash site. The sight that greeted them was both terrifying and awe-inspiring, a twisted metal vessel pulsating with an alien energy, and within, a crying infant swaddled in an unearthly fabric. Fear warred with compassion in their hearts, but ultimately love prevailed. They took the child, naming him Clark, and raised him as their own. Clark grew up a curious, inquisitive boy, his strength exceeding that of any farm boy his age. He could see through objects with an unsettling clarity, and possessed a gait that seemed to defy gravity. He yearned to be normal, to play catch with the other kids without fear of shattering the ball, to swim in the local creek without leaving a trail of uprooted trees in his wake. But a gnawing sense of otherworldliness clung to him, a constant reminder that he was different. One fateful day, a tremor shook the very foundation of the Kent farm. Buried deep beneath the earth, the Kryptonian pod had reacted to an unknown signal. As Clark unearthed it, a holographic image flickered to life. Jor-El, his face etched with a father's love and a scientist's desperation, revealing the truth of Clark's origins. The revelation struck Clark like a bolt of Kryptonian lightning. The world he thought he knew crumbled around him. He was not just Clark Kent, son of Jonathan and Martha. He was Kal-El, the last survivor of a dying planet, an alien stranded on a strange world. Jonathan Kent, his voice thick with a bittersweet pride, placed a weathered hand on Clark's shoulder. "You have a choice, son," he said, his gaze unwavering. "You can hide, or you can embrace your destiny. You can use your gifts to help those in need, to fight for what's right." Clark stared at the holographic image of his father, the weight of his heritage settling upon him. He could feel the immense power coursing through his veins, a responsibility that transcended his own desires. He wouldn't just be Clark Kent, the farm boy. He would become something more. Fueled by a burning desire to honor his Kryptonian heritage and the unwavering values instilled by the Kents, Clark embarked on a clandestine mission. Using salvaged components from the pod and his own advanced knowledge, he crafted a symbol, a suit of alien fabric emblazoned with the crest of his lost home, a beacon of hope for his adopted one. It was the birth of Superman, the Man of Steel. Clark, by day, donned the spectacles and mild-mannered persona of a reporter for the Daily Planet. He navigated the bustling metropolis of Metropolis, a city teeming with corruption and despair, seeking truth and exposing injustice through the power of the press. But when the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long, menacing shadows, Clark Kent vanished. A streak of crimson and blue shot across the darkening sky, a blur of unimaginable speed. In the heart of the city, where screams echoed through the concrete canyons, Superman materialized. He faced off against Lex Luthor, a cunning industrialist with a twisted vision for the future, and monstrous beings from distant galaxies, drawn to Earth's rich resources by a dark, insatiable hunger. Each battle was a crucible, a test of Superman's strength and his resolve. He battled monstrous creatures immune to his punches, dodged blasts of energy that could vaporize steel, and faced down cunning minds that sought to exploit his vulnerabilities. The weight of the world, a constant reminder of the responsibility he carried, pressed down upon him. But Superman persevered. He was a beacon in the darkness, a symbol of hope for a world on the brink. He fought not just for Metropolis, but for every flickering ember of goodness that dared to exist on a planet teetering towards chaos. Yet, the victories were never absolute. Each triumph was tinged with lost-fallen allies, the collateral damage of titanic battles, the ever-present fear that one day, even his immense power wouldn't be enough. The secret identity he clung to became a double-edged sword. He loved Lois Lane, a fearless journalist with a nose for trouble and a heart that dared to challenge even Superman himself. But the constant fear of exposing his true nature, of jeopardizing her safety, kept him at arm's length. He was a solitary figure, a guardian angel forever shrouded in mystery. One night, as Superman soared above the glittering cityscape, a distress call pierced the silence. A massive alien warship, bristling with weaponry, hovered menacingly over Metropolis. Panic surged through the city like a wildfire. This was different. This wasn't a rogue Luthor scheme or a random alien incursion. This was an organized invasion, a force unlike anything Earth had ever faced. Superman, his heart pounding like a cosmic drum, knew this was the battle he'd been dreading. This wasn't just about protecting Metropolis, it was about protecting the entire planet. He charged towards the warship, a lone warrior against an armada. Lasers lanced through the night sky, painting the clouds with streaks of fire. Superman weaved through the barrage, his eyes fixed on the warship's command center. He slammed into the hull, the impact sending tremors through the vessel. But the warship held, its defenses proving more formidable than any he'd encountered before. He fought his way through corridors lined with grotesque alien soldiers, each blow a desperate attempt to reach the heart of the ship. But doubt gnawed at him. Was he strong enough? Was this the day Krypton's last sun, the symbol of hope, would finally fall? Just as despair threatened to engulf him, a familiar voice crackled through his communicator. It was Lois, her voice laced with urgency. "Clark," she said, "I found a weakness in the ship's core." But you have to. Her voice trailed off, replaced by static. The wave of nausea washed over him. Lois. She must be in danger. A primal rage surged through him, momentarily eclipsing the fear. He redoubled his efforts, fighting with a newfound ferocity. Finally, he reached the vessel's core, a pulsing sphere of alien energy. It was then he saw her, Lois, dangling precariously above the energy core, held captive by a monstrous alien commander. The commander sneered at Superman, a cruel amusement dancing in his eyes. "You'll never reach her in time, Kryptonian," he rasped. "One wrong move, and she gets vaporized." Superman was trapped. He couldn't risk a direct attack, but he had to save Lois. In that split second, a desperate plan formed in his mind. With a mighty roar, he channeled all his power, creating a blinding shockwave that ripped through the room, a gamble, a desperate bid to distract the commander. It worked. For a fleeting moment, the commander's attention shifted. It was all Superman needed. He launched himself forward, a blur of red and blue, and with a single, powerful blow, disarmed the alien. He then scooped up Lois, pulling her back from the precipice of death. But the victory was short-lived. The warship, critically damaged by Superman's attack, began to spin out of control. Alarms blared, red lights flashing ominously. There was no time for escape. The warship was hurtling towards Earth's atmosphere, a burning comet destined for a catastrophic impact. Superman knew what he had to do. He locked eyes with Lois, a silent promise passing between them. Then, with a steely resolve, he propelled himself and the damaged warship away from Earth, out into the vast emptiness of space. A blinding flash engulfed them as they entered the atmosphere, followed by an eerie silence. The world held its breath, waiting for news of their champion. Had Superman, the last son of Krypton, Earth's only hope, finally met his end? Or would he somehow rise from the ashes, a beacon of hope once more? Only time would tell.